Money isn't just numbers on a bank statement, it's emotions, habits, and hidden psychology. The way we think about money is rarely logical. It's shaped by fear, desire, and the stories we tell ourselves. In this video, we'll explore the fascinating psychology of money and uncover why we spend, save, and stress the way we do. When it comes to money, people like to believe they're rational. We think we buy, save, or invest based on logic. But in reality, most money decisions are emotional. Fear, pride, guilt, and even love influence the way we handle our finances. Take fear, for example. Fear of not having enough can push someone to hoard money, even when they're financially secure. On the other hand, fear of missing out can drive reckless investments or unnecessary spending. The same emotion, fear, can create completely opposite behaviors. Pride is another powerful motivator. Many people overspend on luxury items not because they need them, but because they want to project success. The purchase isn't about the product, it's about the feeling of status and recognition. Even generosity has roots in emotion. Giving money to loved ones or to charity often provides a sense of joy and fulfillment that far outweighs the actual cost. In fact, studies show that people who spend money on others are often happier than those who only spend on themselves. This emotional connection to money explains why financial decisions can feel so heavy. When you argue about money with a partner, it's rarely about the dollars. It's about the deeper feelings of security, fairness, or respect tied to those dollars. Understanding that money is emotional is the first step to making better choices. If we can recognize the feelings behind our financial habits, we can start taking control, rather than letting our emotions control us. The way you think about money today often has roots in your past. If you grew up in a household where money was scarce, chances are you developed habits that stick with you for life, sometimes helping, sometimes hurting. This is called the scarcity mindset. When money feels limited, the brain becomes hyper-focused on survival. Every decision feels urgent. People with a scarcity mindset often hoard money, fear taking financial risks, or avoid investments altogether, even when they're in a good financial position as adults. On the flip side, scarcity can also lead to overcompensation. Someone who grew up with very little might spend recklessly as an adult, determined never to feel deprived again. It's why some people buy expensive items not out of need, but out of a deep emotional drive to escape the memory of going without. The scarcity mindset doesn't just affect spending, it shapes how we see opportunity. Studies show that when people feel financially strained, they struggle to think long-term. Their mental energy is consumed by immediate concerns, leaving little room for planning or growth. The key to breaking free from this cycle is awareness. If you notice yourself clinging too tightly to money or spending too quickly to avoid feeling deprived, it may be your scarcity mindset at work. Recognizing this pattern allows you to shift toward healthier, more balanced financial decisions. It's easy to believe that more money equals more happiness. After all, who wouldn't want a bigger paycheck, a nicer car, or a bigger house? But psychology shows us something surprising. Once our basic needs are met, money has diminishing returns on happiness. This is due to hedonic adaptation. Humans are wired to get used to improvements in life. That new car you dreamed of? A few months later, it feels normal. That big raise at work? It quickly blends into everyday routine. The initial excitement fades, and we start looking for the next upgrade. This cycle explains why even wealthy people often feel dissatisfied. No matter how much they achieve, the sense of joy doesn't last. They adapt, then want more. It's like being on a treadmill that never stops. Of course, money does matter. It can reduce stress, provide freedom, and improve comfort. But beyond a certain point, happiness depends less on wealth and more on how we use it. Research shows that spending money on experiences, personal growth, or helping others provides more lasting happiness than buying material goods. Understanding hedonic adaptation can be liberating. Instead of chasing endless upgrades, you can focus on appreciating what you already have and spending in ways that bring true fulfillment. Imagine finding $50 on the ground, it feels good. But now imagine losing $50 out of your wallet. Which emotion feels stronger? For most people, the pain of loss outweighs the joy of gain. This is known as loss aversion, and it's one of the most powerful forces in the psychology of money. Research shows that losing money feels about twice as bad as gaining the same amount feels good. This explains why so many people avoid investments, delay financial decisions, or panic sell during downturns. The brain evolved to prioritize survival, which means avoiding losses was more important than chasing rewards. That survival instinct still drives our financial behavior today. Even in modern times where risk often leads to growth, we instinctively play it safe. This bias can lead to missed opportunities. Someone might avoid investing altogether, keeping their money in a low-interest savings account out of fear of losing, even though over time inflation quietly eats away at their wealth. The key isn't to ignore risk, but to understand it. Not all risks are equal. Smart risks, like long-term investing or building skills, pay off in ways that gambling or reckless spending never will. By reframing risk as opportunity, we can begin to overcome our natural fear of loss. Here's a strange truth. How rich you feel often depends less on what you have and more on what the people around you have. This is the psychology of social comparison. Humans are wired to measure themselves against others. If your neighbor buys a new car, suddenly, your perfectly good car feels old. If a coworker gets a raise, your salary feels smaller, even if nothing in your own life has changed. Studies show that people care as much about relative income as they do about absolute income. Earning $60,000 in a group where everyone else earns $50,000 feels better than earning $100,000 in a group where everyone else earns $150,000. This comparison trap fuels endless dissatisfaction. Social media makes it even worse, constantly bombarding us with curated images of other people's lifestyles. What we forget is that we're comparing our reality to someone else's highlight reel. The good news? Awareness helps break the cycle. Instead of comparing upward, you can practice gratitude and compare downward, reminding yourself how far you've come or how fortunate you are compared to others with less. The truth is, money will never feel enough if it's always measured against someone else's success. Happiness with money comes from aligning it with your own values, not someone else's Instagram feed. Have you ever walked into a store for one small item and left with a bag full of things you never planned to buy? That's impulse spending, and it's deeply rooted in psychology. Marketers know that buying is emotional, not logical. Sales, limited-time offers, and last-chance deals trigger fear of missing out. Bright colors, catchy slogans, and even the layout of a store are designed to bypass rational thought and push you into quick decisions. But the biggest driver of impulse spending is emotion. People shop to celebrate, to reward themselves, to reduce stress, or even to escape boredom. That's why retail therapy feels good in the moment, even if regret hits later. Psychologists call this emotional regulation, using purchases to manage feelings. The problem is, the relief is temporary, but the financial consequences can last much longer. The trick to overcoming impulse spending is awareness. Before buying, ask yourself, do I really need this? Or am I just trying to change how I feel right now? Pausing for even a few seconds gives your rational brain time to catch up with your emotions. Impulse spending is one of the biggest reasons people struggle financially, not because of big purchases, but because of small, frequent ones that quietly add up. Humans love feeling in control, especially with money, but often that sense of control is just an illusion. Take the stock market, for example. Many investors believe they can predict trends, time the market, or outsmart everyone else. In reality, even professionals with years of training often fail to consistently outperform simple, long-term strategies. This illusion of control extends beyond investing. People overspend on lottery tickets, convinced they can get lucky. Gamblers keep playing because they think their skill or gut feeling influences random outcomes. Even in everyday budgeting, people overestimate how much they can manage without tracking their spending. Why does this happen? The brain craves certainty. When outcomes are unpredictable, we create stories that give us a false sense of power. Rolling dice a certain way, checking stock charts obsessively, or holding on to lucky habits, all tricks we play on ourselves to feel less helpless. The danger is that the illusion of control often leads to reckless decisions. Believing we can outsmart randomness makes us take risks that don't pay off. The cure is humility. Recognizing what you can control, like saving regularly, budgeting wisely, and focusing on long-term habits, while accepting what you can't control, like luck or market swings, leads to better financial outcomes. True power with money comes not from beating the system, but from mastering yourself. It's a common belief that once people earn more, they'll automatically start saving more. But psychology shows us that's not always true. In fact, many people fall into the trap of lifestyle inflation, spending more as their income rises, leaving savings stagnant. Why does this happen? Because saving doesn't trigger the same emotional reward that spending does. Buying something new gives you an immediate dopamine boost. Saving, on the other hand, feels like a sacrifice. It's money disappearing from your account without the thrill of a purchase. This is why some high earners still live paycheck to paycheck. Their income goes up, but so do their expectations of what life should look like. Bigger house, nicer car, more vacations, all of it eats away at potential savings. The trick is to reframe saving. Instead of seeing it as money lost, see it as money spent on your future freedom. A growing savings account is like buying peace of mind, independence, and security, things far more valuable than the latest gadget. At the end of the day, financial success isn't about how much you earn, it's about how much you keep. In the 1970s, researchers conducted the famous marshmallow test. Children were given one marshmallow and told they could eat it right away, or wait 15 minutes and get two. Years later, the researchers found that the kids who were able to wait generally had better life outcomes, from higher incomes to stronger relationships. This experiment highlights the psychology of delayed gratification. The ability to resist short-term temptations for long-term rewards is one of the strongest predictors of financial success. With money, this principle is everywhere. Choosing to invest instead of spending, saving instead of splurging, or waiting for a big purchase instead of rushing into debt, all are forms of delayed gratification. The problem is, our brains crave instant rewards. That's why credit cards, buy now, pay later services, and flashy marketing are so effective. They feed our desire for now and silence our future-focused self. The key to mastering money is learning to find joy in waiting. Remind yourself that every dollar you save or invest today multiplies over time. The longer you delay gratification, the bigger the eventual payoff. In short, discipline today is freedom tomorrow. If you're enjoying these psychology insights, hit the like button. It helps a lot. And let me know in the comments, are you more of a saver or a spender? Debt isn't just a financial tool, it's a psychological trap. Credit cards, loans, and buy now, pay later offers are designed to separate the pain of paying from the joy of spending. When you hand over cash, your brain feels the loss immediately, but when you swipe a credit card, that pain is delayed. Psychologists call this the pain of paying. By pushing it into the future, debt makes purchases feel easier in the moment, which is why people spend more with cards than with cash. This creates a dangerous cycle. The temporary high of buying fades quickly, but the debt lingers, often with interest. Over time, financial stress builds, leading to anxiety, guilt, and even denial. Some people avoid checking statements altogether because the reality feels too overwhelming. But debt isn't only about overspending, it's also about identity. Carrying debt can make people feel trapped, ashamed, or less successful, which in turn affects their behavior and decision-making. Ironically, this emotional weight often pushes people to spend more, using purchases as a temporary escape from financial stress. Breaking free from debt starts with awareness. Recognizing how borrowing changes the way your brain perceives money gives you back control. When you truly feel the cost, not just the purchase, you can make better financial choices. For many people, money isn't just about survival, it's about identity. The size of your bank account can shape how you see yourself and how you believe others see you. This connection begins early. Society rewards wealth with respect and status. Expensive cars, luxury brands, and big houses aren't just objects, they're symbols of success. Owning them becomes tied to self-esteem. The problem is, when identity is built on money, self-worth rises and falls with financial fortune. A promotion makes you feel powerful. A financial setback makes you feel like a failure. This creates a fragile sense of self, always tied to external circumstances. On the other hand, some people build identity around frugality. They feel pride in saving, budgeting, and avoiding extravagance. While healthier in some ways, this too can create pressure, making them feel guilty or anxious if they ever spend freely. Understanding the link between money and identity is key to breaking free from it. True worth isn't measured by what you own, but by who you are and how you live. Money can enhance your life, but it should never define it. When you separate your self-esteem from your financial status, you gain more freedom. Instead of money controlling you, it becomes a tool for building the life you actually want. Winning the lottery sounds like a dream, but psychology shows it can quickly become a nightmare. Studies reveal that a large percentage of lottery winners end up broke within a few years, and many report being less happy than before they won. Why? Because sudden wealth magnifies existing habits. If someone struggles with money management before winning, millions won't fix it. It will make the problem bigger. Overspending, poor planning, and reckless decisions spiral out of control when there's suddenly no limit. There's also the expectation factor. Family, friends, and even strangers often come knocking, looking for help or handouts. Relationships strain under the pressure, and trust becomes harder to maintain. Another reason is hedonic adaptation. At first, the new wealth feels life-changing, but soon, luxury becomes the new normal. What once felt incredible now feels ordinary, and the chase for more begins again. The lottery effect proves that money alone doesn't create stability or happiness. Without financial discipline, sudden wealth can feel more like a burden than a blessing. Real financial success comes not from luck, but from habits and mindset. Here's a counterintuitive truth. Spending money on others often brings more happiness than spending it on yourself. Psychologists call this the generosity paradox. When you buy something for yourself, the joy fades quickly. But when you give, whether it's treating a friend to dinner, donating to a cause, or surprising someone with a gift, the positive feelings last longer. Why? Because generosity creates connection, and connection is deeply rewarding for the human brain. Studies back this up. People who spend part of their income on others consistently report higher levels of happiness, regardless of their own financial situation. Even small acts of giving trigger a sense of purpose and belonging. Generosity also reduces stress. When you shift focus away from yourself, your brain releases feel-good chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin. Giving doesn't just help others, it literally changes your own mood and mental state. Of course, generosity has to be balanced. Giving beyond your means can create stress instead of joy. But intentional generosity, choosing to share even in small ways, can transform how you experience money. In the end, the paradox is clear. The more you give away, the richer you actually feel. Money is one of the biggest sources of stress in modern life. Whether it's debt, rising expenses, or uncertainty about the future, financial pressure takes a heavy toll, not just on wallets but on mental health. When people worry about money, the brain goes into survival mode. Stress hormones rise, focus narrows, and long-term planning becomes harder. This is why financial stress often leads to poor decisions, like payday loans, impulse spending, or avoiding bills altogether. The brain is too busy fighting the emergency to think clearly. Financial stress also impacts relationships. Couples often cite money as the top cause of arguments, and the emotional weight of financial problems can strain even strong partnerships. Anxiety, shame, and fear make money conversations difficult, leading many people to stay silent instead of seeking help. But here's the good news. Even small steps toward control, like making a budget, paying down one bill, or saving a small emergency fund, can significantly reduce financial stress. The feeling of progress restores confidence and gives the brain breathing room. Managing money isn't just about numbers, it's about peace of mind. When it comes to money, patience isn't just a virtue, it's a superpower. Most financial success comes not from quick wins, but from consistent long-term habits. This is the psychology of compound growth. A single dollar saved and invested doesn't look like much today. But over years and decades, that dollar multiplies, turning small, steady actions into huge results. The same principle applies to debt, where small mistakes can grow into massive burdens over time. The challenge is that humans are wired for short-term thinking. We crave immediate rewards and underestimate the power of time. That's why so many people chase risky investments, get-rich-quick schemes, or unnecessary upgrades, while ignoring the simple, boring habits that actually build wealth. The truth is, wealth isn't built in a moment. It's built in small, repeated choices: saving regularly, investing patiently, living below your means, and staying consistent when others panic. Long-term thinking isn't flashy, but it works, and it's the ultimate psychological trick to mastering money. And that wraps up the psychology of money. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit the like button, subscribe for more psychology insights, and check out our other videos. We've got plenty more to keep your mind sharp and your habits smarter.